Penn State, SMU. This is the noon kickoff on Saturday. We've got Penn State is an 8.5-point favorite over the Mustangs. Gross.
I want to quote the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I stand up for injustice where I see injustice. Quote, in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. And I'm not going to be silent. Alabama's by far a better team than SMU. We're running short on time, so I won't dive into it too much. I'm going Penn State by 1 billion here. I understand small game, James. This isn't a big game for Penn State. SMU's not a great football team, so I'm going Penn State and under.
Under.
Yeah.
I don't like the under.
I don't either. I actually don't like the under in this spot because I think Penn State's going to put up a million bajillion points. I really do. Them putting up 37 against Oregon. Them putting up 37 against Oregon last week opened my eyes. Really. I was like, I didn't know they were capable of this against a legit opponent.
Or is Oregon's defense that bad?
Their defense is that bad. Their defense is that bad.
Yeah. I mean, SMU, Oregon's defense,
I was going to say, it's pretty comparable. Yeah. If you look at the numbers, though, SMU on paper has been great against the run, less than 100 yards allowed. That's first in the ACC, 8th nationally. But Penn State has been averaging over 200 rush yards a game this year. A couple stats that I found pretty interesting. Katron Allen, 8.9 yards per carry versus Oregon. Nicholas Singleton, 10.5 yards per carry versus Oregon. They seem to raise their level of play against better teams. They've both averaged almost 6 yards per carry against top 25 teams for Penn State this year. And I think SMU's rush defense is a little fraudulent based on their schedule. I'm not here to do the whole song and dance if they didn't play anybody, but I think this Penn State rush attack is going to give them some real problems. SMU just let Klubnik go for 262 and 4 touchdowns. Drew Aller's better than Cade Klubnik. So I think this Penn State offense sees a lot of success. SMU's been putting up a ton of points, but they've been doing it versus bad defenses. Strength of schedule, 57th. Penn State's a clear step up in competition level. I like Penn State to win here. I like them to win big. And then putting up 37 points against Oregon. I didn't think they had it in them, but I was impressed. I know Oregon's defense isn't anything to write home about, but they're hitting their stride at the right time. And I think Penn State controls the pace of this game and the entire 60 minutes. I like Penn State.
When you thought Oregon finally pulled away, Penn State just kept coming back, which was
I know, and
I was
surprised. That's not what you normally see of a Penn State team of years past. You're not used to that. And plus, Aller took care of the ball versus Oregon, and Penn State beats the teams they're supposed to beat. That is one thing they've done this year. They're supposed to beat SMU.
And there's James Franklin. This is a perfect James Franklin game to, this will be the point to get him a contract extension. Be like, oh, well, we won a playoff game against SMU.
Yeah.
And, this, because we'll talk about the bracket, but spoiler alert, I have Penn State in the semifinals, and this is a perfect scenario to where Penn State makes the semifinals, and they go, well, James Franklin, you can't do anything because he made the semifinals, but he beat SMU and Boise along the way, and you're still at that cap where he still can't beat the Michigans and the Ohio States any year. Or Oregon at this point now.
We need some kind of system or asterisk or different stat number to differentiate playoff wins before the 12-team playoff and now playoff wins after the 12-team playoff.
Yes.
Because if you're James Franklin and you make the semifinals, all of a sudden you can't go toting around saying, I have 2 playoff wins. Look at all these other coaches and their numbers from a 14 playoff. There's got to be some kind of differentiator there.
I don't like either side in this game on the spread. I don't feel comfortable taking James Franklin and Penn State as an 8.5-point favorite in any spot, to be honest. I don't like them as big favorites, but I sneaky like the over in this game. I think Penn State wins, but I sneaky like the over in this game. Like you said, Connor, I think Penn State has a ton of success on the ground, and I think SMU has to play desperate, which could result in some turnovers.
I think you're right. And plus, if this game gets out of hand, SMU's offense has been good enough to where we could see a couple garbage time touchdowns where it's 30 to 10, and then SMU scores a couple times and makes it look a little, scoreboard window dressing.
Kind of like the ACC title game.
Well, they almost came back for real in that game. But I like the over here too. I do think Penn State wins. I would lean Penn State to cover -8.5 as well.
Dylan, are you trusting James Franklin as an 8.5-point favorite?
I'm not betting it, but I would trust James Franklin more than I would expect SMU to win this game.
Gotcha.
I lean more towards Penn State, but I'm not. I am going to take the under.
We don't need to go into this, but real quick, if it was Bama Penn State in the first round, you picking Bama?
Bama by to quote the words of Connor Sparrow, Bama by a million bajillion.